Good morning. Welcome to the April meeting of the Pitt County Department of Social Services. I'd like to welcome our guests who are with us today. Thank you for being here, and the board members as well as those of our management team who attend the meetings. Thanks for being here today. First thing we'd like to do is call the meeting to order and observe a moment of silent prayer or silent meditation at this time, please. Thank you. Let's begin, and first item we have to attend to is the adoption of today's agenda. Are there any additions to the agenda that need to be made?
No additions.
No additions? Then may I have a motion to accept the agenda?
Mr. Chairman.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
So carried. You have in your packet as well minutes from the previous meeting that I hope you've had an opportunity to review. May I have a motion to please accept those minutes?
I'll offer a motion to accept the minutes as presented.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So carried. Mr. Perry, if you'd like to give us an update on the status of our agency personnel at this time, please.
At the present time, we have 26 vacant positions within the Department of Social Services. 24 of those positions are frozen, and we are in the process of interviewing for one of those positions. And you have the ranking and the listing of where those positions are located.
Okay. I'd like to entertain any comments about the status of our personnel at this time, please.
I'd like to know, are you kind of keeping up with what you have to do, or behind, or what?
We are basically even as far as keeping up with the workforce.
That's good. That's
Basically because the workers that we have are taking on those additional responsibilities.
Yeah.
But if you look at the list, you see there, we have some resignation that will be coming up July the 1st. So we're thankful in that respect that it was not April. So we got some additional months that we have those people here to work. But once July the 1st roll around and everybody drop off, then the story will change.
How are the retirements going to affect the vacancy reports and things of that nature?
We completed 2 budgets for the county manager, one at 2.5% and then another budget at 6.5%. If we go with the 6.5% budget, which is the worst case scenario, we'll be losing 16 positions. So
Would that be in addition to what you'll have already got frozen, or?
there would be some of the frozen positions
It'd
would
be
be
some of them, so
abolished.
it will not be additional ones to that.
Right.
Okay.
So that's out of 23.
out of the 24. We left off one, we forgot and left off one. So out of the 24, we'd be giving up 16 of those positions.
Uh-huh.
If we come to the worst case
The
scenario.
worst that could possibly, okay?
How about, some people are taking that buyout or that retirement?
Yeah.
They have until May the 4th to let the county human resources know. So at that point in time, we will have a general idea how many additional people that we have. But we know that we'll be losing 2 more people that will be taking the buyout, and that would be in our administrative unit, and those will be the people that work in our reception desk and the switchboard. So if those 2 individuals leave, then that will put us only 1 person at the front, which will create a problem.
How many are you anticipating that you think, by the grapevine and so forth, will be taking their early retirement?
We're looking at probably 5 more people that will be taking early retirement. That's not on this list at the present time.
Okay.
I think it speaks to the skill and probably the experience of your staff, as I said earlier to someone, that our agency error reports have remained low like they have. That speaks to somebody really shouldering a terrific load. And obviously, as these things come and these impacts occur, that couldn't help but change, as you've said. But the comment really focuses on what everybody's done up to now, and it has been, what I'd say, based on that one look at it, it has been outstanding.
Thank you. I know the staff appreciates it.
Well, we certainly know that they are working hard and have been for really a year now. Understaffed, vacancies, frozen positions, et cetera. And the good news is, as Mr. Mayo and others have pointed out, it seems as though we're not falling too far behind, although we have to keep in mind our auditing changes along these same lines. So we don't audit as much, which means our error rates could in fact be skewed a bit. The most important thing is that we understand when we are not able to meet the services that are required of the department, and you measure those quarterly
Right.
to give us the information as to how far we are falling off. And I think we said at one of the previous meetings, we'd like to see the comparison of both what is mandated by law that we fulfill and where we are against that, and then also where that falls in comparison to other like-sized counties. And that report would be at the next quarterly
Quarterly.
report, right? Okay.
I think if we do have problems, you need to notify us, not to wait. Keep us informed, in other words, as much up to date as you possibly can.
Well, I'm hoping, Mr. James, by you serving on this board and then
Oh.
being aware of
Yeah.
what's going on, that you can share that information with the other.
Yeah, well, I
Commissioners,
can
so-
and certainly will, too.
All right, any other discussion around the status of agency personnel? Okay, at this time, we need to open some sealed bids, is that correct, Mr. Perry?
And we have 5 bids for our in-home services contract. We have Matt Clouds and Associates.
And just as a reminder, as you're doing this, this is yearly that we go back
Right.
and reevaluate the in-home service providers that we use.
Who's got it now?
And this is McLeod's and Associates.
And who is our current
Who's our current?
vendor?
Addis.
Addis.
Addison.
That was, as of last year, we
Last
selected
year, right.
Addis.
And what we would do once the month after we finish, then staff would go out, meet at the agencies, do a study, have structured interviews that we use with all 5 counties, with all 5 agencies, and then they will report back to you and make their recommendation for the upcoming year.
Okay.
I was trying to find out the bid amount. I don't see it on the front page, so.
Hand it to me, I can look through it as you.
This is interim health care. And their bid is for $13 an hour for interim.
Here's McLeod's bid per hour.
McLeod's is bidding $13.80 per hour. Action Health Staffing.
Who did you say this was? Action?
Action Health Staffing. They're bidding $12.47 per hour. And this is Addis Healthcare.
That's who we have now.
Yes.
Yeah. $12.35 per hour. And we have Health Pro Home Care Services. They're bidding $10.50 per hour. And they have another bid for $2.65. So we have to look at it and see whether or not that would be a total of $13.
15.
13. So we need to look at it and see exactly.
$2, what was the other one? Two something?
Yeah.
Two what?
$2.65. $2.625 per 15-minute increments.
So they are 13, 15.
Yes, so
13, 15.
we have to look at it and exactly figure out all that.
As I understand, Mr. Perry, the management team will take these bids, go back and review, and then come back and make a
Right,
recommendation
right.
to the board to approve.
Right.
But you've given us interim at 13, McLeod at 1380, Action Health Staffing at 1247, Addis at 1235, and Health Pro Home Care Services at approximately 1315. Maybe a little different because they do build that
Yeah.
differently. Mr. Mayor.
What is our current bid? What are we
$12.
working on now?
We're working at $12 an hour.
$12.
Yes, 12 even.
12 even. Man.
And so you all will take and you'll have the survey results and various things like that to do comparisons and make a recommendation back to us at the next meeting. So pricing is not the only thing you look at. There are several others.
Quality and customer satisfaction, whether or not they can meet our requirements.
How can you check those that you haven't had before? Do they have other counties that they are?
We will ask them whether or not they're serving other counties, and then if they are working in other counties, then we will
Check on
contact those
that.
counties.
Okay. That'd be good.
Based upon the number of clients that we have, we will ask them about their staffing ratio, whether or not they can serve those number of clients.
All right, any other questions about this? Comments from the board? All right. Thank you very much. We have a few reports to the board today, the first of which is revolving around our Child Abuse Prevention Month. And I think the Child Protective Services Intake and Assessments team is here today, and we look forward to hearing from your report.
And Ms. Margaret Dixon will do a intro.
I just wanted to share with you before they start the presentation that nearly 30 years ago, Congress and the President first designated April as National Child Abuse Month. So this month is an opportunity to raise awareness about child abuse and neglect and to promote activities aimed at protecting children and supporting families, across the nation, especially in our community. I wanted to share with you some of the things that we're going to be involved in this month. And April 21st, we're going to participate in the County Government Day out at Alice Keene Park. So if you want to participate, wear your t-shirt. April 22nd, some of the staff are doing the maternity fair. April 25th, we staff again will participate in a walk, child abuse prevention walk. We're going to walk downtown around the courthouse and that area. On April 28th, we'll have a table and a booth at the Jogwood Festival. And this fits nicely with especially the county government day on April 21st, because their theme this year is Healthy Counties, Healthy Families. So it fits right in well with what we're doing this year, too. Okay, Tampa. We have Tampa Brady, who's wanting to share just an overview of the statutes, why we do what we do, and how we're mandated to do what we do, and just some of that process.
Good afternoon. First of all, I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to come and talk with you a little bit more about what we do, and let you know on behalf of our staff that we appreciate your interest in expressing a desire to learn more about what we do and the services that we provide. As Margaret said, this month is Child Abuse Prevention Month, and one of the things that we do is Child Protective Services intake. That is the front door for everything that we do. And our director, along with every director in all 100 counties, is responsible for and mandated by law under the North Carolina General Statute 7B-300 to establish child protective services for children who are alleged to be abused, neglected, or dependent within our county. We're responsible for screening all of the reports that are made to our agency, for completing CPS assessments, for providing services to parents, guardians, and caretakers to help them in the court to prevent abuse and neglect, to improve the quality of child care, to be more adequate parents and caretakers, and to preserve and stabilize families. We're also mandated by law to investigate any allegations of abuse or neglect that concern child care facilities. So any of our daycare centers within Pitt County, we would also investigate that. Part of screening our reports, when somebody makes a report to us, we have a standardized intake form that the state put out, and all 100 counties are required to use that form. That is something that came about several years ago, and it has been instrumental in helping the counties to be more uniform in making decisions when taking the information and when screening that information to see if it does meet the statutes and the standards. When the person calls or comes into the office, our intake social worker takes down that information and fills out that report. And if there is sufficient information in the allegations, then the assessment is assigned to a CPS social worker who goes out and completes that. Part of the information that we're looking at, we want to know what is going on with the family, what are your concerns. But when we take that report, it also helps us to prioritize the response track, whether it's a family assessment or an investigative assessment. It helps us to determine the response time. We have to go out and initiate our cases either immediately, within 24 or 72 hours. And one thing that many people do not know, this form is considered a legal document. We have, as I mentioned, we have two approaches when a report is made that we can assign. We have the investigative assessment track and the family assessment track. With the investigative track, that is more incident focused, and we go out more looking at, okay, what has happened and where do we need to go from here to make sure that everybody is safe and or that the children are safe and protected. With the family assessment track, we go out and we're looking at the incident that's reported, but we're also looking at a lot of other things that are going on within the family so that we can try and put services in place to assist families. We do that with the investigative as well, but the family assessment track was developed to be a little bit more family friendly and family oriented, and not so much, okay, this is what has happened, where do we need to go from here? We go in automatically looking at the big picture and not as incident focused. Again, our agency does have the statutory responsibility to screen all of the reports that are made to us. We're looking to see if there are allegations of abuse, neglect, or dependency, and the types of abuse that we are looking for consist of physical abuse, sexual abuse, emotional, or contributing to the delinquency of a minor, which is also known as moral turpitude. The categories of neglect include improper discipline, lack of proper care, lack of supervision, abandonment, lack of medical care or remedial care, injurious environment, whether or not a child has been placed for care or adoption in violation of the law. According to the North Carolina General Statute 7B 302B, North Carolina has a mandatory reporting law, which means that any person, who has any reason to believe that a child has been abused or neglected or may be dependent, they are required to make a report to our agency. And as a result, if there's a child fatality, that is an automatic report that we must receive as well. We do like for people to make a report within the county that they reside, but they don't have to. So anybody can call from anywhere and make a report to us, and we will gladly take that, and we will transfer that to the county where it needs to go if it meets the requirements. The reporters are not required to have firsthand knowledge or information about what they're reporting to us. If they get this information through a friend, or their child comes home from school and passes information on to them and they have concerns, we would certainly encourage them to call and report that information to us, and that is treated just like any other report if you did have firsthand knowledge. So we gladly accept those and encourage people to make those reports as well. Any person who calls us or comes in or who makes a report, they, according to the statutes, they are protected from criminal or civil liability. And if they're making that report in good faith. The statutes also guarantees that anyone who cooperates with our agency as part of an ongoing assessment, that they're guaranteed immunity from civil or criminal liability as well. One thing that I would like to point out, we do not have the legal authority to become involved in situations where the only thing that's being reported to us are custody issues, visitation, child support issues. Those are things that we do not have that authority to do. When somebody is making a report, we get information, from several different ways. As I've mentioned, you can call us and make a report. You can come into our office and make a report. We do encourage people, to try and avoid sending us emails, because we do need to be able to utilize that intake form to take the information. It gives us a lot more information, and we're able to make a better decision in our screening process. And the same goes for leaving us voicemails, and we encourage people, in our messages, please do not leave reports of abuse, neglect, or dependency on this line. And that's for the same reason. We'd like to have that one-on-one interaction so that we can take the best report possible with the most information and make the best screening decision that we can. Once someone comes in or calls, the report is taken. We do stress confidentiality in our reports. Reporters' names are confidential, and we stress that to the reporters as well. When the report is completed, the intake social worker passes that information on to the supervisor, who then screens it, and if it, again, meets the definition for abuse, neglect, or dependency, we screen it in. And if it does not, then it is screened out. And our reports where the reporter wishes to be notified, we send them a letter within 5 days of that intake report. If you call in anonymously, or if you leave your name but you don't leave a phone number or an address, then we're unable to provide you with any information when you call back in, because we cannot guarantee that that person is who they said they were when they made the report. So the letter is the process for making that notification. And confidentiality, as I mentioned, that is something that is very serious for us, and we do everything that we can to protect the identity of the reporter. And the information that is gathered during the assessment process is also confidential and protected, and we have very limited situations where that information can be shared. and that is normally under a court order when that is shared. And that information is covered in the North Carolina General Statute 7B-2901, and it's subsections C, D, H, and I. And just to let you know, when a report comes in, our social workers typically spend between 30 to 60 minutes taking that report on the phone. It is a lengthy process. We let people know that up front. And once the report is made, there's an intake packet that they have to complete, and that can take 15 to 30 minutes to complete that as well. So this is a lengthy process for our intake social workers, and you know, we'd like the public to know that when you call, you know, this is something that can take a few minutes. If you don't have that time, you know, we try to get all the information that we can so that we can make the best screening decision. If anybody wants to make a report, they can contact us through the direct line, which is the 902-1111 number. And when our agency is closed after hours, weekends, holidays, you know, we're still open for business in Child Protective Services. So anytime anybody wants to make a report or has concern about a child, they can contact us through the Sheriff's Department, and they call our on-call social worker, who calls that person and takes down that information. And that number is 830-4141. And that's pretty much CPS intake.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Do we have any questions? Mr. Mayor?
You indicated that you all also do daycare investigations.
Yes, sir.
What kind of just general volume will you have on an annual basis of that? 1 per month, 3 per month, 1 per year? How many of those type investigations do you do?
It varies, but I would say on an average throughout the year, I would say 2 to 3 per month.
Thank you.
I had a question. What is the total number of claims for child abuse that you might process on a given month?
In 2011, we took a total of 1,375 reports. And of those reports, 1,063 were accepted for an assessment, and 312 were screened out. So that averages out about 114 reports a month.
So approximately 25% of the reports made turn out to be, or less than that really, turn out to be false claims or unsubstantiated in some form.
Yes, yes.
All right, so in those individuals, there's immunity granted to people who report. It's anonymous, and there's immunity there. What protects against repeated false claims?
Unfortunately, there is no true mechanism in place for that. What we do is, and we do have this happen, you know, somebody is mad over, you know, like I mentioned, child support, custody, visitation, or, you know, I had to move out, so now I'm going to make a report on my friend type situation. If it's a situation that we have recently investigated, and the allegations are the same, then those are screened out if there are no new allegations. If it has been a while and the information that is provided, if it meets the statutory definitions and the state standards, then we have to screen that in. If we notice that it's the same person making the report over and over, then we can call them, or when they do call us, you know, we can talk with them about this and try to get more information. You know, are we missing something, or is there something else going on that we can help process through this? You know, but it's very hard to be able to say somebody made a malicious report.
Right.
Because we believe that people make, you know, most of the reports in good faith because they genuinely care about the children.
And your
So-
statistics would bear that out to be the
Yes.
case. For the citizens to understand, more than 1,000 claims a year, though, are substantiated of child abuse in Pitt County.
Is that-
No, I would not say substantiated, no.
That's
Those
what I
are
would
just
guess.
reports that are received.
But you said, and then you said 300 are
Screened out.
Screened
They-
out.
yeah,
So
they
what
were
happens to
screened
the
out.
other then?
We go out and complete an assessment, and if we find that there is abuse, neglect, or dependency, then we either substantiate or find in services needed, and those cases are transferred to our in-home services unit for ongoing services.
So
But the
what does-
majority of our cases are closed, either
I see.
unsubstantiated or services not recommended.
So what does the number look like of substantiated?
That's what I was interested in.
Okay, I believe Margaret has more of that information, maybe.
I believe last year we sent between 80 and 90 cases down to
I know
in-home
it's not
services.
Okay,
It's not
so
Most of it is
for, for the community to understand, then it's not the 1,000 number, it's the 80 to 90 that actually turn out to be substantiated.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay,
But it's getting to that conclusion that is the hard work
Yeah.
sure.
in the numbers that we receive.
Yes.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of work, our social workers do a great job. It is a massive undertaking to complete an assessment between, having to go out to meet the families, interview the families and the community providers and collaterals, and complete the paperwork that's required by the state.
And the state standard is that family assessments are completed in 45 days and investigative in 30 days. And the state holds us to that standard when they come in and audit our cases and review our cases.
When is law enforcement advised pertaining to the case?
Anytime we receive a report of alleged neglect, we automatically notify law enforcement, and we try to partner with them when we go out to initiate cases. That's not always the case based on, what's going on, but we do try to do that, so they are notified immediately.
That would be how many cases, the 80 or the 90 or the hundreds?
That's spread out between both. Any report that is screened in for abuse, we automatically are required by law to notify law enforcement.
Sure.
And we also notify them if a report is screened out, but there may be something going on that would be more of a criminal nature, then we have to notify law enforcement of that as well. And an example of that would be child-on-child sexual abuse. Yes, sir.
With the changes in staff and the staffing pattern, how does that affect your ability to follow up on claims?
It makes it difficult to a degree because, we are mandated to initiate within so many hours and to complete our assessments. For investigative, we have to complete within 30 days. For family, we have 45 days. And sometimes our cases do run beyond the 30 and 45-day limit, trying to get everything done.
And the state recommendation is 100% compliance with that?
Yes.
But you ask about staffing patterns, our staffing patterns are such that we've had the same number of staff, of course, for years. So when we have a vacancy, it means, again, like in the income maintenance division, you're asking people to do more than they normally would do. And for example, since January, we've taken 408 reports. And we have a new person started today.
Yay.
Yes. And then we have one other vacancy. So
How many vacancies?
two right now. Well,
Two.
one right now in this area of investigations and family assessments.
In 3.5 months, you've had almost half of a year's total. 13, you've had a third of a year's total. Do
Already.
you see that as, already, do you see that as a trend that is either based on seasonal or based on the fiscal times
It can
we're
be
all in?
seasonal. It can be seasonal, but that's been a high number. Yeah.
I would think so.
All right, are there any other questions or comments? Well, this is incredibly valuable information, and I just want to say on behalf of the citizens, thank you for the work you do. I can only imagine how hard your job is every day. With 1,000 reports or so that you wind up working with, even those 80 or 90 that are substantiated must have quite an emotional contact for each one of you that you have to deal with, and so we certainly do appreciate the hard work that you do in protecting children throughout the county. Thank you for your service in that way.
Thank you.
Thank you. This ties into our monthly report where you asked that we have staff to come in and talk about the different programs.
Yes.
So April is Child Abuse Prevention Month. I think May is adoption. So all this ties in with the presentations that we will be bringing to the board.
And every month is child abuse prevention.
Yeah, every month. And
Every day of every month.
And on the T-shirts for the children, they have, what's the word for that you got on the back for the children?
The children.
Not for the children.
Child safety is everybody's job.
And for the children, what does it say?
My safety is everybody's.
And for the children, T-shirts said, "My safety is everybody's job." So,
That's fine. All right, thank you so much. Next, we have a report as well, a project broadcast. Ms. Dixon and Ms. Burns.
Well, actually, Ms. Burns is going to do the honors today.
All right. I am the designated coordinator for Project Broadcast for Pitt County, and Project Broadcast is bringing trauma-informed practices to North Carolina child welfare system. And trauma-focused practice is identifying and understanding the impact of trauma on children in the child welfare system. Project Broadcast is a collaboration between the Administration of Children and Families, North Carolina Division of Social Services, Center for Child and Family Health, University of North Carolina in Chapel Hill, and 9 county departments of social services out of the 100 counties, and Pitt County is one of those 9 counties. The state of North Carolina received a 5-year grant to fund this project, and that grant operates on the federal fiscal year, October 1 of 2011 through 9/30/2012 will be the first year planning for Project Broadcast. North Carolina is one of 5 states that received this grant, and the other counties are Colorado, Connecticut, Massachusetts, and Wyoming. There are 2 phases to this project, and phase 1 is the first year of the project, and we are 6 months into phase 1 of the project. And about a week ago, I was involved in a webinar where the state is just informing the project coordinators like myself in the other 8 counties of this project and what is going on with the project. The prior 6 months, they have been developing and setting up the project, and now they're getting all the counties involved. The North Carolina Department of Health and Human Resources is the lead agency for Project Broadcast in North Carolina. The principal investigator is Kevin Kelly, and he is the section chief for Child Welfare Services in the Division of Social Services. This project is a collaborative effort with 2 key partners, the Center for Child and Family Health and the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, and the 9 county departments of social services. Those 9 county DSSs out of the 100 counties are Buncombe, Craven, Cumberland, Hoke, Pender, Pitt, Scotland, Union, and Wilson County. The big picture for this project is about safety, permanence, and well-being for children in North Carolina. And the target population will be children in foster care from the 9 counties, with a primary focus being serving children ages 0 to 5 and ages 13 to 18. Young children under the age of 5 are the group with the largest representation entering foster care, and youth ages 13 to 17 are the group most likely to require a placement in a group home, an emergency shelter, or placement like that. So that is why this population of children were chosen as part of this project. The project, like our REAP project that Ms. Dixon has already told you all about, it is also data-driven and focused on well-being of children. Studies have suggested that just focusing on safety and permanence is no longer enough, that children that are reunified or adopted are still likely to develop behavioral problems, and kinship placements do not predict what the mental health outcomes are for these children. Typical programs for youth, life skills, tutoring, mentoring, intensive care management programs, there are no statistical differences on the outcomes for these programs. So what we know now is that we now know more about the impact of maltreatment and trauma on the psychological health and the emotional health of children in foster care. So looking at the outcomes based on the trauma that children experience prior to them coming into care will also help us to move toward better well-being for the kids that are in foster care. What Project Broadcast is trying to do is it's trying to develop a trauma-informed workforce, increase availability of trauma-informed services in North Carolina, increase access to trauma-informed services, develop a trauma and well-being data passport, or the ability to look at outcomes across the system of care and coordinate policies across the system of care in North Carolina. Part of Project Broadcast's job will be to train the workforce, and Project Broadcast will be looking at, in all 9 of these counties, training child welfare professionals, social workers, supervisors from foster care, adoption, CPS, and in-home services. All these supervisors and social workers will receive training regarding trauma-focused practice. There will also be resource parents involved in this program, and these will be foster parents, adopted parents, kinship care providers. They will all be trained, and also at some point there will be a program to train the trainer, in order that folks will be able to continue to train others in the community, and hopefully will be successful in sustaining trauma-focused practice in North Carolina. The system of care providers will also be trained, and these include folks in the education system, law enforcement, guardian ad litems, and folks in the juvenile justice area. Currently, the training is designed as a typical 2 to 3 day training, and Project Broadcast will also train a team from Pitt County, which at this point has not been developed yet, but we'll be working on developing a team that will work with myself and Ms. Dixon in looking at specific things that are specific to Pitt County that will help Project Broadcast to work within Pitt County. Like I said, Project Broadcast will train the resource parent and train people from our agency and the community to also train the curriculum. What we are hoping in terms of outcome is enhanced ability to track safety, permanence, and well-being outcomes for children who received trauma-informed treatment and practice. Our next step is that The folks who head up Project Broadcast with the Department of Health and Human Resources and Division of Social Services will be coming to Pitt County to meet with our staff and do a readiness assessment. That is being planned for May 15th of this year, for them to come in and to complete the assessment and to do an overview of the project with the staff. So at this point, what Pitt County is working to do is to get me informed as the project coordinator, build a team within our agency to work with me to bring about trauma-informed practice to Pitt County, and coordinate what needs to happen with the resource parents, with the mental health providers, and folks in the community who will be a part of this project for the next 5 years.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Burns. Any questions about the project?
Just some general things. So basically, how did North Carolina get chosen? Was it a competition or?
As far as I know, North Carolina applied for the grant along with other states. And North Carolina is a state that is well known among the other 50 states as a state that looks at developing their child welfare program and developing the services provided through their program. And we are well known across the 50 states as being well versed in child welfare services. So I can see why we would be chosen as one of the states to receive the grant.
So it's more because we're an innovative state.
We are.
As opposed to having high rates of those.
Yes.
Those things.
All right. Any other questions? All right. Thank you very much. Next, we have our director's report. Mr. Perry.
In the director's report, you will see a food and nutrition service, nutrition education, and obesity prevention meeting. There are 38 counties that were selected to participate in this, and we'll basically have one of the highest food stamp participation rates. So we were chosen, and you got some counties that have high obesity rates. Now, I have no idea on the counties that have the high obesity rates, but I know looking at our status, we have high participation rate. So I guess from the health department perspective, they were able to gather all that information to make a decision on those counties. But in the list, they list 38 counties that were chosen for this, and we're one of the 38 counties. And we'll be having a meeting on April the 27th in Raleigh to look at this participation rates, what we can do different. So we're looking forward to that. And then you have home and community care block grant monitoring that was done for our in-home services. We had no problems in that report. So again, thanks to Paula Meekins and her staff for doing an outstanding job in that respect. And then on our disaster food stamp monitoring, you know, when we had a disaster, we took all those applications. Now the state had an opportunity to look at those applications, and of those applications, they sent back 62 that they thought had problems, either because of over the income or income not reported. So we have our program integrity staff going through those 62 cases, identifying the errors, talking to the clients to see whether or not there are actually overpayments. So you will probably see some of those in the upcoming months on our overpayment reports.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Perry. Ms. Dixon, I just wanted to remind the public again and the board, the dates that you mentioned relative to Child Abuse Awareness Week, there were a few, 3 or 4 dates in particular. I know one was the Dogwood Festival where we're participating, and then there were a couple of others. Can you remember?
On April 21st, we're participating in the county government event from 10 to 2 out at Alice Keene Park on County Home Road. April 22nd, we're doing the maternity fair. We have staff going to that. Again, April 25th, we're doing our walk downtown. April 28th is the Dogwood Festival, yes.
That event on the 21st at the park, it's a family-friendly event. There'll be jumpy houses and snacks and drinks. There'll be a whole lot of activities going on.
Right.
So we would encourage anybody in the public to first cross your fingers that the weather cooperates, but then come on out and join us for some
And that's where?
healthy fun. It's on County Home Road at the District Park, the Alice Keene Park. They can also walk across the street to the farmer's market, visit the animal shelter, the Village of Yesteryear. All of those activities will be open that afternoon, or that day from 10 to 2.
Great. Great. All right, thank you so much. All right, I think we have a need to go into closed session now. If you could please read the statute.
North Carolina General Statute 143-318.11 regarding closed sessions. Section A, permitted purposes. It's the policy of the state that closed sessions shall be held only when required to permit a public body to act in the public interest as permitted in this section. Public body may hold a closed session and exclude the public only when a closed session is required. Also, item number 1, to prevent the disclosure of information that is privileged or confidential pursuant to the law of this state or the United States, or not considered a public record within the meaning of Chapter 132 of the General Statutes.
All right, I'd like to entertain a motion to go into closed session, please. And second? All in favor?
All right.
Okay, the board now stands in closed session.